Welcome everyone to the Minions of the Zoo. I'm the keeper this evening, Skep Tock, and with me I have a minion. Prospero is here with me this evening.
Hello.
It's so nice to have you along with me, and for this duopoly. We think we may be joined by Harry from the Harry channel later on in the show, but we're just sitting here chilling, talking about fun things from our youth, which is what old people talk about. But we're not above talking about some of the nonsense that's going on right now.
If I am even conversant on it, I'm so up my own butt with what's going on that my knowledge of the news is like, okay.
It's things are getting strange and funny because what's happening is the Democratic Party is realizing they're going to get their ass handed to them in the midterms.
Just now.
They're almost certainly going to lose the House, and they might even lose the Senate. They might lose both houses of Congress. If that happens, they are going to be just six kinds of worlds of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
They'll never get anything done, and it will instantly lame duck whoever remains behind. That's the other thing is, I'm wondering if Joe Biden is going to be well enough to continue. I think they might be setting the stage for him. Hey, we wanted to run him, but old Joe's health just isn't there, so he's going to take care of himself and resign, and we're going to get our first Black female president, Kamala Harris.
Right, because we already had our first Black male president, Bill Clinton.
That's right, and this will be a shit show of epic proportion because with Kamala Harris in the White House, this is a person who thinks she knows how to do things. She is absolutely in von Moltke's fourth quadrant.
Oh, yes.
She is ambitious and stupid. It is a deadly combination. Von Moltke said, "You get rid of those people. You put them in front to get shot first."
Yep.
Because those are cannon fodder. They're they will hurt your organization. And he was absolutely right. It was true in the 18th century. It's true now.
Who will she name as her vice president? You think she'd name Gavin?
Oh, I think she will be told to name Buttigieg, and Buttigieg will be her vice president, almost certainly.
Oh, that'll be just awesome.
Yeah, it'll be great.
You'll have a mayor and an utter know-nothing purported attorney general.
Yeah,
of California.
Well, see, that's the other thing. All the stuff, these idiot personalities, people like Buttigieg and Kamala Harris and Biden, I don't care about them because these are not consequential people. These are not people who can get things done. They can kind of harm the structures of government and whatnot, but they don't really know how to organize a group of people to put them, against a task and to get something done. And we welcome the Harry channel to the show.
Hopefully you can hear me.
Yeah,
I can hear you, and I'm hopeful as I hear you. So I'm hearing you hopefully with hope in my heart.
I'm guessing tonight's secret word is hope.
That's all we have left.
Florence King. We're talking about Florence King, and one of Florence King's big bugaboos was misusing the word hopefully. People say hopefully we'll get there on time. What they mean is I hope we get there on time. But they won't say that. They'll say hopefully. Mm-hmm. But when you say hopefully I will get there on time, you're describing what your condition will be when you expect to get there on time. You will be hopeful. Hopefully, shall I, so I know it's the language is changing under my feet, and I'm an old man and I just don't like it. But that and decimate, it's just I can't. I'm not dealing well with reality. It's time for me to die. It's pretty evident.
The decimate is that ship sailed, brother.
You're literally being a word fascist.
I am being a total word fascist. I hang on to hopefully, because hopefully people will make better decisions.
Yeah, but look what happened to awful.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. Don't even start. Yeah.
If you want to do some archaeology on words, what we use today is
hopefully,
awful. We even misspell it.
Hopefully was in my youth. Hopefully was used correctly. People didn't say, hopefully we'll get there. That didn't start really until the 60s, late 60s.
Yeah, it was most of my youth. It was there. And I don't know how often I fall prey to it. Hopefully isn't a word I say a lot anyway.
I use a different phrase. It confuses people because I was raised by old people and I read too many things on their bookshelf. So sometimes I'll forget where I am and I'll say something like, people will ask me for an estimate in a business setting. And I'll say, well, with the wind at our back and a song in our hearts, it might...
Yes.
Nice.
And they're just like, the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah, it's
I say stuff like that too, Harry, and they've looked at me like that funny for years.
It's like the good Lord willing, the creek don't rise. We'll do blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
And if people aren't from the South, where you hear that the most frequently, you get this stare like, why would the creek rise? And it's like, you're belaboring an expression. Don't, it's just don't. It's if everything goes according to plan is what that means. If nothing untoward happens.
Mm-hmm.
What does untoward mean? Okay, that's when you just check out of the conversation, You're pretty much screwed.
Well, there's the phrase, what is it? You talk about burning some joss at the temple, but people usually say Josh.
Yeah.
Joss.
Yeah.
It's Joss.
Yes.
Joss. Yes.
But people will say Josh. And I just don't have the heart to tell them that they're butchering it.
Do you know why the burning the incense is called burning joss?
I know I looked it up at one point, but you know what? I knew you were going to tell us, which is sort of why I set you up.
No, because I don't know.
Oh. I figured you knew. No, I know that I knew at one point.
Because I know that joss means roughly luck or fate. And to have good joss is to basically have good
juju.
Luck.
Yeah.
Well, I know it's a type of offering in this context. I'm just trying to remember. I guess I can look it up. I'll pretend I'm Serenity now.
Okay.
Yeah. Or indefatigable.
You were... Yeah.
Okay.
I invited her to be on. I did not hear back from her.
She's a busy girl.
She's a busy girl. She's got a place to go, people to see.
Okay. So, joss paper, type of incense paper.
There you go.
No.
That's
bark. No, it is actually related. Before you come down on me here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. So I guess there's some sort of burning Chinese joss paper or ghost money at the temple during Chinese Lunar New Year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The burning money.
Yeah.
Is that's like a Chinese thing though. It's not
it is that the joss is like symbolic money. It's not really money.
Okay.
So when you burn some joss at the temple, it's when you buy the fake money and then light it on fire at the temple.
Yeah, it's...
So Chinese mourners have been burning joss paper, as known as ghost money, for centuries. This is large due to folk belief in China that if you burn paper money, it'll bring down the goddamn capitalists. Oh,
you can also burn U.S. currency or, was it Sri Lankan rupees?
Yeah. The interesting thing is, though, is it's been done in Vietnam for thousands of years.
Yeah.
And also burning joss sticks at the Senjoji Temple in Tokyo.
That's what I was thinking of, was the joss sticks. That's what I was trying to remember.
I think the key is you have to buy them from somebody with a robe. I think that's it's sort of like saying the old Woody Allen joke that if you don't pay your therapist bill, you won't get any better. You have to, if you don't pay your therapist, the therapy doesn't work.
Yeah,
So if you don't pay the priests, I mean, because it's not like the priests have a lot of industry. I mean, it's not like they're industrious French priests making really good ales and
do you know
liqueurs.
that's actually a descendant of a Henny Youngman joke? You know what the Henny Youngman joke is?
Probably, but remind me.
The Henny Youngman joke goes. Let's see if I can remember it. Not mess this up. Doctor told me I had 6 months to live. I told him I couldn't pay him right away. He said he gave me another 6 months.
I
didn't
think
tell it very well, but it's funny when Henny Youngman did it.
Well, I mean, I was raised by old people, and then in addition to that, things that they didn't necessarily like or know how to figure out, like they couldn't figure out how to use the camera that they bought, an Olympus OM1. So I just took it and made it my camera. And I think I showed you some pictures that I took from that camera about a week ago. So I took it and I made it my camera. And the same thing with, they had a Sansui stereo tuner thing. So they couldn't figure out quite how to make that work. It's just sort of an old people patience thing. Yeah. I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
Old people used to not be as technical as old people are today. So I would just take the tuner and say, here, I'll make use of it. You're not using it. I'll make use of it. But I used to do the same thing. I would read the books that they didn't feel like reading, and I would listen to the albums that they didn't feel like listening to, which is why I was listening to Shelley Berman and stuff like that.
Yes.
So I think I ended up being older than the old people by virtue of the fact that the things that were too boring for the old people, I found interesting.
Well, you found your place. You found the things that were meaningful to you, and your interests in the things that fascinate you commend your mind, really, frankly. I just enjoy hearing about your life in Silicon Valley and so forth, and hearing about the things that you get to face in the modern business environment, post internet. You're really getting into the post internet. I think the internet as a killer app is dying now. It's in its cash cow phase.
Yeah.
And,
well, there was the internet, which was fine, and then we sort of got into. There's a part of the internet, I don't know, should I talk about this? Well, I'll do it quickly. The thing that sort of came after the internet that most people didn't realize happened was exchanges. Now, superficially, people noticed that you could buy a bunch of stuff online, but I don't think people realize how hard it was to exchange something, whether it was a commodity or a physical or non-physical item, before the internet. There were people typing shit out and reading stuff off teletypes and screaming at each other, holding up pieces of paper on floors. There were a lot of things that took place that were very manual and very slow. For somebody to have sort of preferred access to those things gave them a massive strategic advantage. They still do have a strategic advantage if you can trade just a little bit faster than the next guy, but that's nothing compared to what it was when you literally weren't even allowed on the floor. Things are so much more egalitarian than they used to be, and a lot of it's because of the internet. It isn't just the information. It's also the fact that commerce, especially with like big things like petrochemicals, has become so much more egalitarian. You can get a hold of things that used to be impossible for common people. And that's a big thing in terms of personal freedom and growing business.
It is. It's interesting though, because it also really changed market dynamic, and the behavior of the market. There used to be kind of fixed. So there were known knowns and known unknowns. We're going to get a little unknown unknowns. Rumsfeld knew what he was talking about. People just didn't understand. They weren't listening.
That thought is not original with him.
Of course it isn't. But if people were thinking about it wearing their philosopher's cap rather than their I'm a journalist cap, they never would have thought that he lost track of what he was saying. But in how to kind of predict market reactions. You used to know that if there X news came out about the GDP, the market would behave this way or that way. If this, that, or the other changed, if unemployment numbers shifted, whichever direction, the market would react certain ways. If war broke out in certain areas, market would react in certain ways. And because of the lightning transactions that are taking place today, in many ways, the market behaves more emotionally. There are more people involved in it. It is more egalitarian, but in that sense, it's more unstable and unpredictable, just like a population is.
Yeah.
But
going back to what Harry was saying about the change, one of the best examples of that I can think of is the old Chicago Board of Trade, the old commodities exchange in Chicago. Here's the way that used to work. When they would do a trade, they would write the trade on a piece of paper, crumple it up, and throw it on the floor. At the end of the trading day, a group of people would carefully come out and sweep up all the confirmation slips and transcribe them. That was that evening's data entry into the system. That's the way commodities used to be traded in the biggest commodities exchange in the world. That was being done when I was a stockbroker back in was that 1979, 80, 81, 82, 83. That was still going on. When I was working as helping the floor brokers on the floor of the American Stock Exchange in New York City, you could hear floor brokers conspiring with specialists because the floor brokers will have some big client who wants to accumulate some stock. And so they'll ask the specialist where he's got limit orders up his book. They used to call it. It's kind of complicated what that is. Anyway, make a long story short, they would tell him, and it was essentially a during market hours swap of non-competitive prices. So people would get a much better price than was commonly available. They used to do that stuff all the time because there was nobody who could watch that at that time.
Yeah, it was insider trading and insider trading in wide open spaces.
It was
in clear view insider trading. Yes,
it's exactly what it was.
And perfectly
the night I found out I passed the brokerage exam, we all celebrated and went up to the floor of the now deserted American Stock Exchange, and we were leafing through the specialist books to see where they had big orders, big limit orders, so we could, tell what a few stocks that were traded on the American Stock Exchange were going to do over the next few days. It used to be that open. It used to be that accessible. It's nothing like that now. Everything is electronic. Anything done on an exchange floor is essentially done for show.
Which is why the market can be so incredibly tachycardic. That's how a finance guy described it to me. When there's a great deal of volatility in the market, he said, look at it. It looks like a tachycardic patient's EKG. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, and that you have instability because there's no sense of future direction when you don't have a curve. There's a curve. There is a base curve in that tachycardia, but it's very difficult to see it and people are reacting, especially with people who got into trading their own stocks. I'm not talking about you, Harry, where you actually, you're not day trading like some people were.
Let me tell you
No.
something. Day trading doesn't work.
No, of course it
Except
doesn't.
It works in a bull market, and you will find some people in really long bull markets, if they stay in a certain type of stock, they'll win over and over. And those people always lose much more money than they make because they think they've got a system, and they don't.
Yeah. And
they lean into that left hook, and the market clocks them.
And yeah, but they also are highly anxious people, and I mean, I've seen people begin to wreck their quality of life because they're worrying about what stocks they're trading and watching and watching and watching and worrying and watching and watching. And it's like, I just looked at him and I said, the long-term game, I mean, you can do that with, if you want to put some money in something because you smell something coming, or you see something coming a mile away, like certain medical stocks, when you have pandemics and things like that, you can if you're paying attention, you can leverage a little bit there. But otherwise, you're placing so many random bets that you're going to come in under the S&P average. That's what's going to happen to you. And if you had put it in a managed fund with people who aren't as neurotic as you're becoming about it, you would have done better. But it's sometimes it's adrenaline junkie needs. I couldn't do it because that's not how I approach investing to begin with. I know better than to get my pants in a wad every time the market takes a wild dip. I mean, now 2008, totally different scenario. We'd been waiting for the crash and the fucking thing hit, and it was just waiting to see how bad a slide downhill it was going to be.
And then you buy in.
Yeah, after you drink your cares away for a night and remind yourself that you will recoup that money.
Dollar cost average. I always tell everyone, anyone who will listen to me, dollar cost average is your friend.
Also, if you've got anything approaching a reasonable amount of money, a large amount of money that you don't want to take too bad a hit, that you have at a brokerage fund, you can always put like a 5% or 10% drop stop on it.
You can.
When that stock goes down 5%, boom.
You open yourself up to something called a whipsaw.
Yeah, but
what happens with a whipsaw is your stop loss goes off, and because the price is jerking around, and so say you bought the stock at 40, you got a stop loss at 35. Well, on the way to 60, it went down to 32, and sometimes in a swinging stock that'll happen.
On a plunge, though, on a day-by-day plunge, if you've got about a 10% one, you're not going to get too chewed up, because when you lose 30% of your wealth in a 3-day period of time, like 2008 did to a lot of people.
Yeah, the key is to sell out of the market and hold cash.
Well, yeah,
or even go to the.
Well, that's being done as quickly as possible, usually by your financial planners, but they can only.
Well, most people usually do. If you really want to know the truth, they make sure the market is going down. They make sure it's going down. Okay, and then they say, "I want to short 500 shares of Mary Kay." It's like a $60 stock, right?
Yeah,
and so they get a margin call, and they freak out, and they think they can never, no one ever makes money on the short side. But that isn't true at all. There are people who make amazing amounts of money. You just have to have a lot of money to endure the margin calls, and that's the same. It's even more true with commodities, where instead of margining 2 for 1, like you do in the equities market, you can go 20 for 1 or 50 for 1.
Mm.
You know?
So I don't play in commodities.
Yeah. Well, I was sitting here. I had two different directions I could go in my next comment, and you just helped me decide which one. Harkening back to Hillary Clinton, do you recall there was a time when
One of
she
the
was
greatest commodity traders of all time.
when she was one of the greatest commodity traders of all time? So you're talking about these ways that sort of, if you've got an inside track, you can make a lot of money. Now, Hillary Clinton, I don't remember how much it was, but I think it was like the statistical odds of her making the amount of money she made in the amount of time that she made it.
Zero, effectively.
Yeah, it was like 1 in 100,000. I mean, if you figured the odds, there was like no freaking way in hell that she could have made that up. There is like something really spooky going on.
Well, it was in a weird commodity. It was like eggs.
Cattle future.
I know. Well, here, let me finish this thought.
Yeah,
I've got a thought for you. So the thing is, these guys have this inside track, right? Is there or was there some sort of thing where they kind of go, we have to make sure it's okay for us to make a lot of money as long as we don't make too much money? Was it all just a game where they had to make sure that they didn't just make it too obvious that they were ripping everybody off because of their advantage? And if so, what stopped Hillary? Because, I mean, it was pretty obvious that it stretched credulity that she made as much money as she did.
Yeah.
It was utterly confounding. It stank on ice, and even the Democrats didn't want to talk about it. They knew it was dirty.
Yeah. Well, between that and her real estate shenanigans, you know, Hillary Clinton is one of these who she wanted to be rich and powerful. That's very important to her, is to have enough money to be secure, in her opinion. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what motivated her to do that, because she thought, you know, Bill's a great guy and everything, but he could actually make it through the governorship and the White House without us getting a fortune out of it. And I am Hillary Clinton, and I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it isn't just going to be this penny ante $100,000 from a $1,000 investment in cattle futures, which most people would be grateful for. So it's speakers' fees.
Yeah, those cankles weren't going to moisturize themselves.
You got that right.
The way commodities trading normally happens with
cattle futures,
they exist essentially just to take your money away from you. And because people come up and they say, well, if I margin 20 for 1, you know, and I buy one contract, it'll be like 20 contracts all going up. Yeah, that's true. And it's like 20 contracts going down, which means that you can have a margin call for all of the loss, the paper loss, that
on those 19 you didn't really own.
Yeah, well, exactly. You know, the
dumb.
The math is just absolutely brutal. It doesn't let up on you. And if you and so the people who buy and sell contracts and help large companies lock in prices on their commodities, which is what the commodities market is actually supposed to be for, they see these speculators come and they say, oh, I love this. You know, yeah, I'm absolutely going to take all of this guy's money and send him away bleeding. And that's what they do, because these guys in
Barnum Brigade.
Yeah, mom and pa kettle are buying 1 or 2, you know, contracts and really swinging, you know, buying and these guys control 50 or 100 contracts. They can move that price any way they want. And if they see somebody accumulating, you know, contracts, they will take that price all over the place to shake them off and basically just absorb their money into the system. And that's what happens. And people say, oh, this is too crazy, you know, asking for too much money. I got to get out while the getting's good. Boy, I learned my lesson. There are so many investors, you find this on Wall Street, so many investors who, if you say the word commodities, that they just, you can see the ones who have lost a bunch of money because they try to get brave and they got their ass handed to them. But right, not Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton hits a home run, you know,
on cattle.
So
I'm sorry,
I
what was your theory?
dug up an article from the New York Times, 1994. I had to go to the Internet Archive
All
to get
right.
to go back to the original one. Let me read a little of this article, if that's okay.
Oh, okay. I thought
The string of winning trades began in October 1978 as Mr. Clinton, then the state's attorney general, was leading in polls in the race for governor. The White House insisted today that Mrs. Clinton received no improper financial assistance on the trades from the lawyer, James B. Blair, a close friend who at the time was the top lawyer for Tyson Foods in Springdale,
Oh,
Arkansas,
yes,
the nation's
one of the
biggest
meat
poultry company.
companies
Yeah.
in the world.
Mr.
Yes.
Blair has said that he had suggested that she get into the commodities market and that he used his knowledge of trading to guide her along the way. During Mr. Clinton's tenure as governor, Tyson benefited from several state decisions, including favorable environmental rulings, $9 million in state loans, and the placement of company executives on important state boards. Mr. Blair and the Clintons denied any favoritism or conflict of interest when the trades were first reported earlier this month. The commodities trades were the most successful investment the Clintons ever made. The nearly $100,000 profit enabled them to buy a house, invest in securities and real estate, and provide a nest egg for their daughter Chelsea and her teeth. In this statement, the White House said Mrs. Clinton accumulated trading profits of $49,069 in 1978 and losses of $22,548 for a net gain of $26,541. In 1979, the White House said she had trading profits of $109,600 and losses of $36,000 for a net gain of $73. Yeah, so they basically go through this whole thing. It really does sort of beg your belief to think that there was nothing going on. The search that I did, by the way, was Hillary Clinton, world's greatest commodities trader, and that yields all kinds of results. From the LA Times and just all sorts of other stuff. People were not being shy about this thing. She did something that just generally never happens. And the fact that she was so clued into those markets because of her connections certainly had nothing to do with it.
No.
But Martha Stewart went to prison for about $30,000. Yeah. It's all in who you know.
Yeah. Well, now she's friends with Snoop Dogg, so it was all worth it.
Well, and she taught women some useful skills.
What was the Tom Wolfe novel about the Wall Street guy who went to jail? Bonfire of the Vanities. Thank you. Yes. I wonder if that was just kind of a bonfire of the vanities kind of moment.
For Martha?
Yeah, for Martha.
Yeah, I mean,
that kind of see her fighting it out with the girls in Stir and coming out kind of a tough.
Well,
actually, what she was.
Actually, they put her in. She was instructing baking. She did cooking and baking instruction. Because she was in West Virginia at a low security prison, and she was basically working as an instructor.
Unfortunately, a lot of her recipes don't work. Anybody who's tried to bake a Martha Stewart recipe realizes there's about a 1 in 4 chance it's all going to fail catastrophically if you follow the instructions.
I don't know whether she was teaching her own shit or whether maybe they had her instructing out of the Betty Crocker cookbook. I don't know, but what she was apparently, rather than having to mix it up, they treated her reasonably well and tried to move toward her skill set. I find her a little bit more approachable since she may have learned a lesson or two about her manner of presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Because I always found her to be a condescending twant.
Yeah.
She was absolutely, she committed the sin to me of showing up Julia Child. Now, Julia could have given a shit, But on Julia's behalf, because Julia already, her hands were already a little palsy-ish, and we were making a
Crocum Bush.
crocum bush. And, you know, Julia, they made the profiteroles. There was nothing wrong with Julia's profiteroles. But when Julia was trying to construct her crocum bush and then kind of get the what's not caramel, it's the burnt sugar over it.
I thought it was caramel.
Well, it is, but it isn't. I thought it was a thinner like sugar.
No, I think it's caramel. You can make caramel whatever
Really
you
thin,
want.
yeah.
But
really
for the
thin.
sake of the chat, it's basically cream puffs stacked in the shape of a Christmas tree, glued together with caramel.
Yeah, I mean drizzled down the side, kind of.
Yeah,
thing.
deliciousness.
It's absolutely lovely, and Julia's looked like I had made it, and well, no, it did because her hands shook at that point. She was an old woman, and Martha's looked like somebody had built a styrofoam model of a crocum bush and attached pretty little profiteroles to it. And I was like, no, you don't do that. You just make it along with the person. You don't go look at my perfect crocum bush next to the one that looked like it, you know, a drunken sailor with Parkinson's had put it together.
Yeah, it's not Bobby Flay's Throwdown, a show which annoys me on a level it's hard to describe.
Yes.
I really despise, in a lot of ways, the Americanification of cooking shows. This is why I like the British version of the Great British Bake Off. I like it because everybody's pleasant, everybody's nice. At the end, they might get a cookbook deal, but as far as the show goes, all you get is a platter.
Well, Mary,
and people are nice. People are nice. That's part of the whether it's real or not. I don't really care, but that's part of the show. People help each other. They act like decent human beings. There's no pounding of your chest. There's no, you're going down. $50,000 is for me. I've earned it. You know, it's none of that crap like the American version has.
Well, Mary Berry, Dame Mary Berry, was that her name?
Yeah, she's I can't remember if she's she's not an OBE, but she's one of the four. I can't remember, but yeah, she's
Did you say the letters. Dame Mary?
I don't know if she's a dame, but she does have an honorific.
I'm almost certain she is because they had a picture of her at Wimbledon, and oh my God, you know that woman can dress.
But did you say Mary Berry?
Yeah, that's her name. She was the very.
That's my daughter's name.
She was
I kid you not. Her name is Andrea Mary Berry.
But Mary Berry is older than you, so it's a different Mary Berry.
But
yes, so it's not the same.
Oh no! My God, she looked exquisite at Wimbledon. But anyhow, she was so gentle and so kind to people when she told them that this might be made of things that we could pretend are Victoria Sponge. This is not a Victoria Sponge, dear. You know, she would do that. And then Scott, what's his McFuck? Hollywood?
Paul Hollywood.
Paul Hollywood would be like, this is garbage. Now, my problem with him is he came off too abrasive by comparison to Mary Berry. She kind of knew how to pat somebody on the hand and tell them, dear, your Victoria Sponge is dreadful. Maybe you'll do better with the shortbread. And give them encouragement. And he'd be like, why are you here?
I think you're being a little hard on Paul. I never heard Paul say that.
No, but he was much more critical. And it took me a while. Now, I saw later episodes where it seemed that he was a bit more genial. It also could be. It took him a while to warm to the job he had. Because some people are not very good at presenting constructive criticism in a kinder voice.
You know what's painful though? If you look at the way people respond to the criticism, everybody knows that Paul's kind of a dick, right? So it's not that big a deal when Paul gives you the look.
Oh, but when Mary Berry did. Oh.
But when Mary Berry gives you the very polite sort of criticism, like, well, you know, this really wasn't your day or something like that. You should see these people. They look like they just got kicked in the head.
Grandma.
Very, very roundhouse them. Because in a way, Paul's criticism means a lot less than Mary's. Mary's mild disappointment is way harder to take than Paul's actual criticism.
Grandma just told you your oatmeal raisin cookies suck.
You made Grandma sad with your soggy bottom.
Yes, that was it. They'd crumple and weep in some cases, and then she'd be like, "There. Let's try better the next round." And you'd see them, "Okay, Grandma," and they'd go back. But some people, bless them, like they'd have a gingerbread house or something to construct. And what would come out would be not only a gastronomic, but an architectural nightmare. But they'd be so game to try these things.
Mm-hmm.
And she'd find some way to say, "I watched you and I really admire your enthusiasm." Yeah. And meanwhile, Paul Hollywood is looking at it and he's like, "Are you a fan of MC Escher?" You know, that kind of.
No, Frank Gehry. Why do you ask?
Yeah, I know, but it was kind of like, I guess.
Architecture slam.
Yeah, if Picasso were to design a gingerbread house, I imagine it would look a great deal like this. But it was how she would say things versus how he would say things. But it is so much more civil than people. They don't understand the difference between like the World War II generation version of America, fuck yeah, and the 80s kids version of America, fuck yeah, which or 90s, the millennial version of it, which comes off of the "you fucking suck, I'm great," you know, and it's like, okay, this isn't high school. Bobby Flake can be just fine, and then he can be a spectacular asshole.
He wasn't particularly nice to his wife, Stephanie March, while the cameras were rolling.
No, he wasn't.
So I find it really hard to be sympathetic to people like that. So it's
but
not...
Alex Guarnaschelli, I'd watch all day long.
Okay, cooks, or should I say chefs. It's a very, very, very ego-driven pseudo-meritocracy. Mm-hmm. And the way it's a great culture for breeding people, like for basically training people to behave poorly. Oh, Bourdain is a pussycat compared to some of these people.
Yeah, I know, but Bourdain could be a colossal prick.
Oh, he could be a colossal prick, but he got better as time went on, and he he mellowed out a little bit as he got out of the kitchen. Mm-hmm. Now, when he was all coked up cooking in New York, I have a feeling it was probably pretty bad. So there was a long time ago when I was working in the hospitality industry, there was this guy who had he had actually worked for a company setting up big restaurants. They weren't necessarily chains, but they were all owned by this investment firm. And these are places you would have heard of, probably. He decided to go out on his own and start a restaurant that he was going to then later franchise. Unfortunately, his cocaine habit really interfered with his business efforts.
Funny how that happens.
So we're talking about the kind of guy that will pick people up by their lapels and push them into walls and yell at them if they don't do something properly. Mm-hmm. That kind of thing. I remember one time he actually had a chef's knife in each hand, and he was holding it up to his temples so he looked like a bull, you know, with the knives sticking up. And, you know, he looked like he was just trying to find something to damage. I learned a lot from watching this guy destroy his business. I think watching a business die is way more instructive for a young person than watching them succeed.
Oh my goodness!
Yes,
I have seen people who made money because they were in the right place at the right time, and they had no concept of the fact that they were not just talented, but also incredibly lucky. And people would just continue to give them money because they would just assume that they must have known what they were doing the first time. It's fun to see how big a first sort of freshman outing has to be before you get to fail multiple times and people stop giving you money.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, in the chef world, there are people that at first I didn't care for that I came to like.
Michael Chiarollo.
Yeah.
He's a big Napa chef.
Yes.
And he was a dick. He was such a dick, but he totally mellowed out because I think somebody said, look, if you want to have absolutely no career, just keep doing what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I watched, over the course of watching Chopped, which I found to be occasionally interesting because sometimes they had some very phenomenally talented people on there.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them, interestingly enough, had worked for Bourdain and thought that was going to recommend him to a group of people. And he behaved like an asshole in the kitchen. And his language was just atrocious. And one of the judges actually was like, well, you're certainly proving where you've worked. And he got the yeet pretty quickly. And they were like, you know, simply because you have worked for Tony Bourdain doesn't mean you know what you're doing. And your attitude is just dreadful. But Scott Conant, I thought, was rather snarky at first as a judge. And he'd get stares from somebody like Alex Guarnaschelli, who called her entire staff her babies.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's like her mom. She's an Italian mom running a kitchen. Taskmaster. But she's looking at all my little fresh-faced babies in this kitchen. And her sous chefs adored her. But, you know, she'd stare at Scott Conant sometime and go, look, we get that you don't like raw red onion. You're like the only person I know who won't eat it.
Yeah.
Because he was just so particular about that. And I used to think, Scott, that is your bête noire. It's not the bête noire of a lot of people in the world. You find that to be a terrifying beast in the night. This raw red onion.
I'd love to be on a YouTube show where everybody knows the meaning of the word bête noire. That just makes me so happy. Just wanted to interject that. Happy.
I use it too often now because I keep seeing people display issues with theirs, as in making it really clear. And then I'm like, you shouldn't display your weaknesses quite like that.
Yeah.
But Conant kind of relaxed. He began pushing the red onion aside and going, all right, everybody knows my thing about raw red onion. But that aside, the salad's magnificent, or, you know, whatever. He stopped being such a twat. The other person I thought was a little peculiar, and then I found out more about his background and realized why I found him peculiar, was Jeffrey Sakarian.
Mm-hmm.
He's far more entertaining when he's cooking. He actually has quite a good time. Not as big a good time as Michael Simon has, because Michael Simon is just a guy who likes to laugh and make people laugh
and
have fun with food. And he's just having a good time. I used to love to watch him on Iron Chef because he would be a fierce competitor, but his mood stayed very positive. And I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to know if he was that way in his restaurant kitchen? Or whether he's that way when he's competing with like that one sous chef that he knows has his back. But it spoke the world when Zakarian competed to become an Iron Chef, that he tapped Alex Guarnaschelli as his sous chef.
Smart move.
Oh, yeah, because instinct, they worked together. It's like she could read his mind. And he could trust her to develop 3 or 4 dishes that would wow the judges. And he went against that sweet, sweet girl who, I can never remember her name. Really, really talented cook.
You're going to have to give me a hint.
Long honey brown hair.
Short, southern.
Southern, but her hair's long.
You think of Kat Cora?
No. She's not that southern, but I think she's a little southern. Maybe she's Midwestern. It's hard to tell sometimes.
Okay. So
No,
I
it
can't
can
rely
be.
on that as a hint.
No,
Okay.
she used to judge on Chopped all the time.
Southern part of the Midwest.
Yeah.
Look, listen, Jim Neighbors.
Golly.
He's a Midwesterner. Damn it. I'm just going to look up Chopped judges and find her name.
See, this is the thing, though. I never really watched Chopped as much as I like, what's his name? Alton Brown. I could just never, I don't know.
It wasn't Alton Brown, though.
Oh, that's that Queer Eye guy.
Ted, yeah.
Yeah, I don't particularly mind him because he's not telling me to wear different clothes. It's like, fine. He seems all right.
The clothes guy chilled out a little bit, and he used to make appearances on Craig Ferguson's show, and it was hilarious. Absolutely hilarious.
Well, the reason we got on this was, I can't remember what we were talking about. So we were talking about cooking and egos and that sort of stuff. What was the root of this conversation? I don't remember.
I don't know. I'm sure I derailed it.
No, there's no rails. It's just a trolley hurtling down a hill. And, if there happens to be a body in front of the trolley, so be it. The trolley does what the trolley wants to do.
Amanda Freitag.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with her.
She's good at what she does.
My Girl Friday.
Yeah.
My Girl Friday.
Well, that's what. Yeah.
Isn't that what?
Freitag. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God damn it, Harry.
I think that referring to somebody as your Girl Friday is now considered to be somewhere between micro and macro aggression, though.
Unless it's Rosalind Russell.
Yeah, no, you can't do that.
His Girl Friday.
Exactly.
That's a fun film. That's an oldie, children. Just look it up.
I can't remember. Didn't they carry that over to? Was it
two different movies?
The Castaway, Jonathan Caruso thing. I can't remember.
Robinson Crusoe thing.
I don't remember. I can't remember. There's some.
No,
never mind.
There are two versions of His Girl Friday.
Well, no, but the same name was used in some other story about a guy who was sort of shipwrecked and. Which then later was remade as the sci-fi movie Enemy Mine. There's this whole tradition of this whole thing about, enemies becoming friends or... anyway, I'm not formulating this particularly well.
You're not talking about another Cary Grant movie when he was, off in the jungle and it was the French...
Father Goose with Leslie
Caron, yeah.
Now, that's a good movie. Well, I mean, who doesn't like Cary Grant, Leslie Caron? That's always good. Yeah, I mean, it's no Operation Petticoat, but it's still a pretty good movie.
Correct.
Operation Petticoat. That was actually a pretty good movie.
It was a pretty good movie.
It had some moments in it.
It did. And honestly, Tony Curtis really kind of made that movie. It wouldn't have worked without Tony Curtis's character as the playboy gold digger kind of guy who really just wanted a cushy life, ended up becoming the supply officer for the ship.
Yeah.
Submarine,
yeah.
Which is one of the most stressful jobs you can have in the Navy, is being supply officer on a submarine. I'll tell you just very quickly. Supply officers on a submarine that's independent duty. You have no other supply officers to help you. You have to know everything. The guys who get picked for the sub school are to go to submarines are always the top performers at Navy Supply Corps School, which is why I was not picked. They are, they are just the accounting and, food service and dispersing procurement, retail operations. They just get high marks in all that stuff. You have to run the ship store. You have to run the food service. You're got 300 people on board that ship, and you're serving meals 24 hours a day. That's a hot kitchen. That's a kitchen that never shuts down. And so you got 4 regular seatings of meals, and then you have rations for people who do special jobs. You have to plan all that out. I mean, and you have to account for all that food while you pay the crew, while you issue all the repair parts, while you run the ship store, while you keep the ship's laundry running. And being an ensign, of course, they put a bunch of collateral duties on you. So you're probably the public affairs officers, and like I was aboard the Kansas City, and crypto officer, and every other fucking, godforsaken job that they can give you. To hear somebody say, it's an easy job. The supply officer is not an easy job. It's there's a reason you're not required to stand bridge watches. Every other officer is required to stand bridge watches, not the supply officer. There's a reason for that.
They didn't start from zero. They basically were working with a system that had been developed over the life of the Navy. So you've got a certain number of men doing a particular type of duty.
Yep.
They need certain kinds of food requirements. So that based on the number of people and the kind of work that they're going to be doing and how long you're going to be out, what types of things to basically lay in. But because of the added stress of being under the damn water, the people on the submarines, as I understand it, ate even better than a lot of the other Navy people on many occasions.
That is the best food in the Navy.
That is the best food in the Navy.
There's a higher
perks.
It's a higher potential that every meal was their last meal too. During certain periods.
The likelihood you might get ice cream was higher on a submarine.
Oh, stop it!
on other ships.
I'm on Brandon watch. I get ice cream. I'll be right back.
They actually make the ice cream on board the submarines.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. They have homemade ice cream. They have an ice cream making machine that is on there that never goes down. You can make one that never goes down, and they have one that's a soft serve. They have soft serve 24 hours a day.
Well, as business studies go, I remember one of the classic ones is about the it's like the shake machines at McDonald's. Have you heard about this thing?
Oh, yeah. Where they signed a contract where only one company can do the maintenance or something.
Yeah, it's this ridiculous thing about this particular shake machine that all these McDonald's use, and all of the maintenance has to be done in a particular way by a particular firm, and it's just the most monumental Charlie Foxtrot you can imagine.
Oh, it absolutely is. They have... what happened was McDonald's had to do a make or buy decision, and they decided to buy it. And the make or buy decision was ice cream in their stores. So they said, okay, we can make the machine and maintain the machines ourselves, or we can hire it done. Well, this company came to them and said, we got you, boss, and we'll take care of you. Well, they signed an exclusive contract with this company that produces, ice cream machines, and evidently, there's a huge backlog when you try and get anything fixed. And since they are the only people who can fix these machines without the McDonald's franchise owner, being out of trim with the McDonald's Corporation, that's why the ice cream machines are always down at McDonald's, because they can't get them fixed in a timely manner.
So I sent you a link. It's to a website that tracks the working and broken ice cream machines at McDonald's.
Are you kidding?
It's in the private chat.
Oh, I gotta see this. McBroken.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm looking at this. Okay. Let's see. I'm just looking around my area here, and let's see. Down Cleburne's is working. Well, but other Cleburne is broken. Oh, that's a shame. Well, Midlothian. Midlothian's is working.
Well, I like the fact in New York right now, 18.37% of all the McDonald's ice cream machines in New York City are broken.
This is interesting. 18.37 in New York and 14.75 in Dallas. So it's running, it looks like between 10 and 20%.
Well, the average, I guess, is 10. Overall, it's 10.2% of them are broken.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a device so crappy that even the commercial version of it, 10% of them are broken? You know, I can tell you 10% of the fryers aren't broken, 10% of the fridges aren't broken, 10% of the waffle irons aren't broken. You know, pick any other item in a restaurant, in a professional kitchen, that's meant for the kind of duty that you'd get in a professional kitchen. You're not going to find something that 10% of them are broken.
Exactly.
Other than the McDonald's freaking ice cream machines, which seem to break 1 in 10 times.
It's just cruel, you know. And of course, they would say, well, 90% are currently not broken.
Yeah.
They're not reporting broken, is what it means. Interesting.
Well, I'm from the way I can see this thing, it looks like a lot of these stores only have one machine. So if you go to the, what is this, Long Prairie, what state is this? Minnesota. You go to the 3086 Lake Street South, Long Prairie, Minnesota, McDonald's, you will not be getting ice cream.
I'm sad.
I see. This sounds like it's in the Minneapolis area.
Well, I was just picking one at random. But the point being, it's bad for morale when the ice cream machine doesn't work.
Yeah. Even if it is subpar ice cream.
St. Paul's doing a lot better than Minneapolis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point. The ice cream is so bad.
Why do you want it anyway? I mean,
Well,
it's okay, but it's not.
Isn't it better to,
go find a local ice cream store that knows what they're doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, sometimes shitty ice cream is what you want. A lot of Indian restaurants will have like mango ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you go to an Indian lunch buffet, Dot. No, yeah, Dot. He almost confused me.
No, not Vindaloo, not fry bread.
So there was this place in Sunnyvale back in the beginning of the first internet boom, which I think I've told you about. They originally called it Pick and Move.
Ah.
I know I've told Skep about this, but I don't know if I've told Prospero. Have you ever heard about Pick and Move? Did I ever tell you the story?
The name is just so splendidly horrible.
No, it's beautiful. Isn't it a great name? So I asked them, I said, your food's really good. And everybody really likes the free mango ice cream machine, after you have all the mango ice cream you want when your meal's done, fixed price. I said, but I'm a little confused by the name, Pick and Move. And the guy said, well, first you pick your food and then you move along. I'm like, okay then.
Yeah.
See, that was his idea for a place that was a buffet. You pick your food and then you move along.
He's not wrong.
Yeah.
We've all been behind that person.
Pick and Move Indian Takeout Eats. I can't believe this exists.
Well, the thing is that you've literally got keep it moving fatty in the name of your restaurant.
Yes.
That's the thing. It's just the attitude toward the customer that amuses me. I'm not saying that you're not supposed to pick the food and move along. It's just that no dawdling allowed should not be part of the damn name.
No, yeah, because a lot of people are curious. I have heard many a person say the best way to sample Indian food is to go to a buffet and find out what you like. You get a little taste of everything and you find out whether, that's too hot for me or that's too mild for me or what the fuck is this? That kind of thing. And it's true. You can, that's a good way to introduce yourself to a cuisine is a buffet, but just to be so literal in the name, although we've been behind the person. in a buffet line. We've been behind them where it's like, that's General Tso's chicken. Put it on your plate or get shuffling. You're standing between me and the crab rangoon.
Well, you should open. They should open one in Virginia and call it the Chapati Barrel, and then people would just go there. It'd be a buffet. Be good.
Yeah. I translated the site, the Pick and Move site, from the Indian dot.
Not feather.
And it's like Telugu or something.
It's not in Wind Talker. What you're saying?
Yeah, it is very important for the customer to pay attention to the process. I will gain the openness and flattery of comfort when they leave the words of the most worthy and the pain of them. So this flight makes them laborious. Praise the greater flexibility every one of us who is repulsed but wants to follow truth, pleasures of life.
First you pick your food, then you move along.
Yeah, it is very important for the customer to pay attention to the adipissing process. Chosen and easy, she is just a laborious, no duties. Be prepared to be repulsed by some hard work, elders.
This
is so funny. I just love this so much.
And he knew that one day the super cruddy monkey death car would park in his spot.
So my God.
I'm glad we're amused.
Assassin of the Gray said in chat that he was talking about Cold Stone Creamery. They have good stuff, but you give them a tip, they all sing a cult song about how happy they are. They got a tip. I stay away from cults. Yeah, it's like there's a steakhouse chain that'll remain nameless, but it's a roadhouse named after a state called Texas, and they, God damn it, if people have birthdays, it's like, cut this fucking shit out.
I've been in Texas Roadhouse when they do that.
You know, and it's like, stop it. Number one, all the restaurants are noisy to begin with, and then that shit starts. And it's like, this is not Vegas. This is not cute. This isn't even like the gawk that you do in Vegas when crap like that happens. This is, stop it. Yeehaw your way back to the kitchen, you know, and get my food. It's dying in the past.
I've only eaten at one of those, if I'm thinking of the restaurant you're thinking of, once. Ended up going there and was absolutely amazed at the level of salt, which isn't that surprising, but it was still, you know, right at the limit. And sugar. Everything was incredibly sugary and salty, which of course is a sign that it's probably not that great.
Yeah.
They had everything was like, I'll order the burnt ends. It's like, are you trying to make a meat croquembouche here? What are you doing? This is not good. That was a callback. See what I just did there?
Yeah.
That was amazing.
I know.
I don't want to.
You could stack them. You said they look like a cow, and then glue them together with their barbecue sauce.
Oh my God.
It could be a meat sculpture made out of sugar, salt, and meat.
Take the cuts of meat and place them where they came from.
Yeah, exactly.
And this, my friends, is the non-kosher section.
It's like a little game. Here, kids.
It's okay, play Stack-a-moo.
Which one's the clawed and which one's the brisket?
Oh my God. No.
Yeah.
All the no. Yeah, there's some chain places that they do some amazing things with the stuff they add to food. It's like, don't do this. Stop it. If I want that to be sweet, I'll add the sugar. Thank you.
Yeah. It's another weird thing. I mean, I like morbid humor, but I do kind of cringe when I hear some economically challenged inner city people refer to diabetes as sugarfoot.
Oh, like, that's gross.
It's like, you've heard that before, haven't you?
No.
Okay, yeah, that's a thing.
That's rude. That's just rude.
I didn't make it up. This is a thing that people do. They'll talk about, I got the sugarfoot. It's like, yeah, you should probably get that looked at. Maybe put the big gulp down and get out of the Texas Roadhouse and don't eat that crap.
Oh, you talked about Indians and Johnny showed up. Hey, hi, Watha, how you
It was
doing?
like we sent out a special signal or something for him.
Mm-hmm. We were talking about the vindaloo, though, not the fry bread. So
Yeah.
go get the guy with the dot.
Yeah. Your people call it maize.
Yeah, what you call maize. Very good. What you call. I love that, what you call corn. She said, curling her lip.
Indian fry bread is not. It's. I no.
Yeah,
I don't think in the authenticity scale it's probably all that authentic, given that it's usually covered in cinnamon and some kind of sugar. I'm not sure where the Indians feather not dot managed to get cinnamon traditionally.
Yeah,
Well,
for their brothers in Vietnam.
Actually, where you find it is places like
Mexico.
I mean, yeah, well, no, place like Indian reservations that don't have any money can do a lot with a loaf of bread.
Mm-hmm.
And so a loaf of bread with a little bit of butter, cinnamon, and sugar on it is, that passes for French toast on a lot of Indian reservations.
Oh, hey, Campbell's getting after you, Harry. He's like, pump your brakes on the fry bread.
Hey, I didn't say I didn't like it. I just said the stuff that I've had at the fair I don't think is authentic.
No, I don't.
That's all I'm saying.
No, that isn't really particularly. But there are all kinds of
Besides,
things.
I'm trying to get him agitated so he'll join us. He does. There's a method to my madness.
Piss off Camel, and he'd be, let me on.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Johnny will be like, well, you might as well bring me to,
Yeah, exactly.
represent.
Yes, if you want to correct me, don't do it through Prospero. You gotta come on and tell me I'm ignorant.
I like Johnny Hellcat at the fair. Yeah, we got our little engine display over here, and they've done some rattlesnake and fry bread, and it's like, oh, how charming.
Mm-hmm.
It's always really kind of funny when you're in the East too, because it's like, excuse me, y'all are Pamunkey Indians. What the fuck are you doing serving rattlesnake and fry bread?
I had five guys.
You what?
I was looking at Talek commented about Five Guys. Here is quite good, though I just like the overload of fries you get for just a small. I've had Five Guys, and I find their hamburgers disappointing.
Well, they don't cook to temperature, and any place that won't cook to temperature, I really don't want them. I mean, I understand when I'm going to a fast food chain that I'm not going to get cooked to temperature burger. But could you not hockey puck the thing?
Yeah,
you don't have to murder it to cook it.
It's not that hard to make a good burger. There's no excuse. If you're paying Five Guys prices, there's no excuse for it not to be an excellent hamburger.
Yeah, and I just was completely disappointed.
There are a couple around here that I have heard are okay. They're not, the burger isn't dry.
It does depend on who
runs the franchise too. It's whether they care. Whether they care. That's always the trick with a franchise, because you can have the same franchise and both are good, but one's a tick better because they just have better management and team leaders.
It helps if the management's not on coke. Really helps a lot.
Always helps if the management is not on coke.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. You never forget the first time your paycheck bounces.
That's
never had that happen, fortunately. Consider myself blessed.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I actually learned a lot when I was there. It was my first real exposure to wine, for instance. And so I picked this guy's brain for everything. I mean, I learned how to make recipes in the right format for a commercial kitchen. And I learned about wine buying, and I learned about just tons and tons and tons of stuff. So, I mean, I absorbed lots and lots of information from this guy while he wasn't really paying attention.
Well,
And
you're right. You're right. You learn a lot about things in the just the process of working in a different industry, just by observation and absorption. And also, like you said earlier, through watching things begin to fall apart and know where the mistakes were made. It's like watching somebody in management self-immolate. And they do. And I mean, you can't be but so sad because you were working for them and you are very happy they're going away. But you certainly learn everything not to do from them.
Mhm.
I mean, my first manager in retail managed to get himself fired from because he was what he was doing was taking advantage of the good nature of our district manager and palling around and buddying him up, so the guy wasn't as curious about maybe following up with other employees that work there, talking to other employees beyond the management. And somebody got out from under him and blew the whistle on this manager. And I had the opportunity to talk to the district manager because I currently wasn't working at that store. I was on kind of a hiatus. And that was an interesting conversation because he said, "Why didn't any of you tell me?" And it was like, how approachable do you think you appeared to any of us when you always went out and had lunch with him? You had 4 stores to visit in town, but you always came to our store, went out to lunch with him, went out after work with him, went buying electronics with him. He leveraged you and made you inaccessible to us. You were utterly untrustworthy to us as someone we could go to. So we had no one to go to. And he swore rather proficiently. And I said, "I'm sorry, but that was the case. Nobody was going to tell you because you were going to tell him we told." To all appearances. And as miserable as the pay was, it was not a great economy. The people needed their jobs. And a lot of us liked working in it, as miserable as the pay was. If you're going to work in retail books can be very satisfying.
If you don't need money.
Well, I mean,
Nobody ever got rich working in a bookstore.
No shit. And also because it's a paycheck vortex, because they pay you and then you spend it in the store if you're a reader. Luckily we got to keep stripped copies of paperbacks because early days I couldn't. When it became a second job to me is when it became justice. The money I made working at the bookstore, I spent at the bookstore. And that's why I ended up with so many books. Some of which I never did read. Those I got rid of. I bought books on the, one of these days I'm going to read this. Well, 30 years later, I think it's time maybe to pass it on somewhere else. Good intentions. Too many books, too little time. You think of all the books in print, which I would have gladly bought. I would adore having one of those English estates with a library the size of several.
I am with you. I want one of those ladders with the wheels on the bottom.
Oh yeah, we had
Hell
those.
yeah.
We had those in the store, and they're actually
but I want I want fully walnut wood paneled shelves.
I want a spiral staircase also.
Oh hell yes, spiral staircase
to the cast iron floored second tier, so you can see straight through. And it's you're talking about 15 feet high, where there are ladders on both levels. And Also, one of those spectacular floor globes.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I've just always loved those. And outfit the whole place with the peculiars, the things that people don't have sitting out anymore, like armillary spheres. And, they just don't have curio cabinets full of peculiarities or play pretties or something like that. Look at the samovar I found, that kind of thing. It's just, I know it's because there's an acquisitive side to me where, I wouldn't even necessarily have to go into the room and read. I could just pet them, run my fingers down the spines. But I would make sure that most of those spines showed they had been opened. There's nothing worse than going into someone's home and seeing all these books on the shelves and not a single one has
I've got
spine.
your globe for you.
Oh, yes.
Check it out.
But
it's on sale. Son of a bitch is on sale.
At 13. That's gorgeous. But the ones that are in the old
You want the Queen Anne style.
The old map style, yeah.
Yeah.
With Here Be Dragons. I like the gold background.
You want them like a Tolkien map, yeah. Here Be Dragons, yeah, right.
Well, not necessarily, but I like the ones with the more yellowed parchment background.
So how do they push updates out for this? Because
yeah, it's tough.
If Russia takes over Ukraine, how do you push an update out?
Oh, my old World Book Atlas map globe is hilarious. We have a more modern globe in that old one, and I'm holding on to both of them simply because it's funny to go say, and once upon a time there was a country called Rhodesia.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Mr. McCater. I'm here to update your globe.
Yeah.
You're projecting, man.
Where's the USB port on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but those huge base floor globes, I adore those.
Yeah,
absolutely adore them.
I don't have any leftover floor for such a thing.
Well, see, that's why you have to have the giant library and the amazing desk and the leather chairs. So everything smells of leather and old pipe tobacco and vanilla. Because old books in particular.
It sounds like wine. It sounds like port.
Yeah. Well, there should be a whiff of that too. When Uncle Fred sat in the chair a little too late in the evening and dribbled a bit on the Persian rug, and you just left it there because the smell of port is comforting.
Yeah. I uncovered my pool table today. It had been covered for a while because it seemed like the right thing to do, but today I uncovered it and it was like, yeah, it is kind of like riding a bike. I was actually surprised. I would have thought that my game would have atrophied more after kind of keeping the table covered for about 6 months, but no, it's just you just get right back on there, and it was not so bad.
Go ahead.
I said we haven't played yet, but we got our table back. Had to refelt it.
You got to take the books off the top.
Dude, stop it! There are no books on the top. There's
the model train.
I'm pretty upset they damaged the table when they put it back together. They did. I'm not pleased, and I'm trying not to be too angry about it, but I am pretty significantly angry because I can't replace that table. The cost of the table has gone up astronomically, so I have to deal with this table with bent stuff on it, and I'm not very irritated because it's also in a place where you're going to see it all the time. It's at a pocket. It's just, it's very. I'll get Cree to send me the picture so I can show you what they did. I'm furious. I'm just furious.
Now, they damaged your pool table? Is that what happened?
Yeah, they did. They did. This guy infuriated me. We had already paid for the work. I'm going to go by the store and speak to somebody about it. Had Cree take a picture of it in good light and just say, this is like bullshit. If I could get a couple veneer pieces and a new metal band for the table, I could probably, it could probably be fixed. But on some of their tables, Olhausen's about 2 years out on delivery because they backed up so much during COVID. It just took, Simonis cloth is just catching up, where they're now telling people it's about 2 months to get the cloth in, where it was close. It was over a year for a while to get Simonis cloth. So we couldn't cover the table in Simonis because nobody has any. Consider yourself lucky, Harry.
I know.
What we got's okay, but it's not quite. Simonis actually has a color that matches what we had before, but Championship is no longer making that same brickish red, and the choices were kind of limited, and I don't really like their Championship blue. I mean, I know why you like the Simonis one, and
Yeah,
I don't.
But we're not going to talk about that.
And I don't like green bays. And the other choices were terrible. They just actually delivered and recovered a table for somebody who put fuchsia cloth on their table. Do you know
Fuchsia.
what? Yes, and do you know what they were replacing?
Is it from a whorehouse?
That's exactly what I thought. I said I
Okay.
didn't know there were any body houses left in town.
What did it replace? Did it replace Paisley or?
No, think horrible. Think horrible. Same time period when you'd get a collection of colored markers.
Hot pink?
That would be the fuchsia, really, if you think about it.
Bright yellow?
Closer. It's
Green?
also the name
Light
of it.
green?
It's also the name of a liqueur in that family.
Chartreuse?
Bingo.
Speaking of monks,
I almost shit myself because the guy said we just had a table that we covered in fuchsia, and I said what I said about I didn't know there were body houses in town, and I said, what did they have on it before? He said, chartreuse. I was like, God, I'm thinking chartreuse of all the things, and it's just, why? How could you put? How can you play on that color without flipping your shit? I mean, the only thing worse would be the Galliano yellow, which would look like, I'm sorry, but your pool table has diabetes. Or does your pool table
yellow?
Does your pool table take a great deal of vitamin B?
yeah.
When I was buying my Olhausen pool table back in 2002.
Do all three of us own Olhausen pool tables?
Well, I sold mine, so
we did at different times in our lives. We did.
Okay.
Yeah. Going through the felts to decide which color I wanted. I ended up going with the green, with the standard green, just
the
because
beige, almost like poker table green.
Yeah, very much like poker table green, because it was green I could see. I've blue-green, a little bit of blue-green color blindness, and blue-green deficient is what they call it. And but this was a green that I could always see in almost any light, and it would be green. I found it very satisfying. So
it's a good green. I mean, the green that used to be the you actually would see Championship pool shot on. They switched to blue. Most of the competition pool I see now is played on blue.
Yeah, it's a good TV color. That's why.
Well, it reminds me of Boise State, though.
Yeah, it does. That's a great.
Watching anybody play.
What's wrong with this football field?
What's wrong with my TV? The colors shot. It's because remember, TVs used to shift green to blue.
Oh, absolutely,
all the time, and it's
little kids and tint knobs, man.
Mm-hmm. We had no idea whether the Witch of the West was green or blue.
Yeah.
It depended on whose house you were at on Thanksgiving.
Turn it all the way to the right, and she turns bright pink.
Yeah, I know. It was pretty funny.
Yeah. They had that little metal
color
thing
knob
that you could pull down, and then the color knobs would be behind it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The flat panel on the TVs. Yeah, we never had a color TV, so I didn't have to worry about that shit. They straightened most of that out by the time we got a color TV, but it still would, if the signal was just a little weak, begin color shifting on you. Baseball fields changing color again, honey. Could you go?
Well, as tubes would start to wear out, things would go wonky.
Oh boy, yeah. But
and then every now and then the guy would have to come out and degauss things.
Mm-hmm. Your TV's humming because of the amount of energy in it. Yeah.
Mom, the tiny linear accelerator in our front room has gone pink. So I have a list of the colors that you can get Simonis cloth in. You can get Simonis green, black, blue green. This is all fairly normal. Burgundy, okay.
That's
burnt orange, okay. Yeah. Camel, that's classic. Chartreuse, all right. Sure, why not? A chartreuse pool table. Dusty pink.
Yeah.
Dark green, electric blue, English green, espresso, fuchsia.
Yep.
Gold, gray, marine blue, mocha, olive, orange, petroleum blue, powder blue, purple, red, royal blue, slate gray, spruce, tournament blue, and wine.
The wine is the wine and the burgundy are quite attractive reds. I have an issue with reds if there's any orange cast to them. And there's some browns that will cast very orange, especially when you get large quantities of the cloth. Championship makes what they call a brick, but on a table, it looks like burnt orange. And there's just a lot of orange in it. And then their wine color is beautiful on the sample block, but on the table, you can see what almost appears to be fuchsia veins in it. And it casts grape juice. Purple, which is not good. Not good in large quantity. The red I went with is in a burgundy red family. It's a little brighter than that, but this is a cherry dark, it's a cherry stain, so it's dark. And it needs good contrast. And the rug it's on has a brick-ish red, if you'd call it that, border. I mean, think how it's not the wine red of a lot of Oriental rugs, because this one is a Persian and makes you think more. It's lighter in tones. It's not as dark as, grandma's Orientals that were on the floor that were almost always wine red, deep, deep wine red.
It's hard to tell with the plastic thing over the top of it. I'm just kidding. My grandmother didn't do that.
Yeah, my great aunt did though.
And I think we all had that.
And on the sofa and the carpet was aqua. Because that was the color 60s. My mother did the aqua thing. Aqua and turquoise and colors like that. She just loved them. I like turquoise jewelry just fine.
Yeah, I have no problem with turquoise and avocado green. Some people got burned down on it in the 70s, but it doesn't bother me. Sure, burn orange, knock yourself out.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The harvest colors that they shifted to for appliances, the harvest gold, and the avocado green. When my mother replaced her stove, she got brown. But I put those Day Glow damn daisies that they were selling as applique stickers. In orange and yellow and stuff. I slapped 2 of those things on, and she thought they were real cheerful and kept them on there the whole rest of my teens. And then there was one on the refrigerator that I put up there because she was like, "That's cheerful." She moved it to Virginia with that goddamn thing still on in the 80s. And I was like, "Mom, please, that was a phase I went through. Make it go away. It's like the big-eyed children. No, I don't want to be reminded of it. precious moments. Burn them all.
Love is.
Oh God. Oh
Yeah.
God, those trolls.
Those gave me
They were
nightmares.
like the little naked kids with the
Yes.
with the
Yeah.
sugarfoot inducing sayings underneath them.
Yes,
Yep.
the precious moments. They're horrible.
You could stick a pencil up their ass.
See, that was also another callback.
You know what they were?
Yes.
They were.
I got it.
I'm amusing myself with lame callbacks like Geodes amuses himself with bad puns.
Well, you're good at it.
Yeah,
The lame callbacks.
thank you.
Yeah, somebody's got to be good at something, Harry. You're so
We all have to have our little thing, yeah.
You're so talentless otherwise, for Christ's sake. God damn
The
it.
Lord gave each one of us a
Oh.
special talent.
And there was only one set of footprints when we looked.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, damn, I got the sugarfoot again.
No, God passed out again.
Jesus had a table or two to flip back up the beach. Oh my gosh.
Unfortunately, I don't have any pictures of my pool table that don't show too much of my house.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
We did find a key stick rack that was tolerable, that doesn't take up as much space as the furniture one type that you have.
Yeah, I guess I missed my chance to send that custom-made one to you. Back when you had a larger house.
You did.
I know. I'll survive.
Dude, I'd have paid you for it. I told you I would.
Know. I would have sent it to you for free. All you had to do was pay for the shipping.
Absolutely beautiful. But we did find something that doesn't chew up the kind of room. That didn't cost very much, which is nice. Because we had those wall clamp racks, and Cree was like, I hate these things, and they're going away.
Mm-hmm.
I found I got tired of pool.
Well, that's the
I just got
saddest thing I've
tired
ever
of it.
heard.
I know. I was an avid pool player for decades and decades. And something happened around about 2004. I noticed I wasn't playing that much anymore, and I was committing the sin. I'd always had a thing that the only thing that would ever go on my pool table is a cover or a ball, a set of balls. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that I don't put things
Pool
on
balls.
a pool table. Yeah, I don't put things on a pool table that aren't required to play pool. Okay, that's not what the pool table is for. It's a pool table. It's not a different kind of table. It's not, you know. And I remember the day that I put something down on top of the cover that was over the my pool table, and I realized I'm moving on past pool.
I had to do that because
with the move coming up, I'm not going to try and make space in the new house.
I had to, because it was the largest flat surface I could use to sort some things.
Mm-hmm.
Which made me sad. Because again, you're committing a sin. But you know what they make now? Little pool tabletop cornhole games. They're hilarious. The little bags are about 2 inches. And you just set up the little boards on either end of the pool table, which you could do with cover on. And you can play cornhole. Yes, I bought it.
Yeah.
Because it's hokey enough, and it made me laugh. And I was like, I like this. It's making me laugh. Let's do it. It's also something else to do when you don't feel like shooting a game of pool, but you want something to do. It's February. You're desperate. The Super Bowl has happened. You know, it's one of those kind of things. Without being shuffleboard, I'm not quite there yet. I liked shuffleboard when I was a kid.
You know what's a fun game, actually, is curling. Have
I'm
you ever done
sure.
curling?
It involves ice skates. No.
It's
No,
a great game.
no,
It
it
teaches
doesn't.
people values
I
like
know.
sweeping.
it involves reminding me of ice skates and ice rinks and things that made my knees hurt. And
Yeah, it's an ice rink, but
I know it doesn't
all you
involve
need are
skates.
your regular shoes, and on one of your shoes, you wrap duct tape. That's your sliding shoe,
Mm-hmm.
and so that when you're sweeping, you slide on one foot, you brace with one foot, and move yourself down the ice
Mm-hmm.
to sweep, and you slide. I didn't know this before I took a few tentative steps into the curling business. That's just duct tape. That's how they can tell that you're not a serious
There's
curler. Is that you've still got duct tape on your shoe, because you can get actual curling shoes, of course.
like bowling shoes. You know what curling reminds me of, especially the American curling Olympic
Mhm.
team. I love those guys. Absolutely love those guys. It was like they needed to do something else on Thursday nights because their wives needed them to get out 2 nights a week, and they didn't want to go bowling twice a week. So they took up curling. That's what I thought every time I looked at them. They looked like some guys who decided over a pitcher of beers at bowling that since we have to get out of the house on Thursdays, why don't we go over to the ice rink and see if we can curl?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Of course, one thing you also find
They
out
were
with the
damn
curling
good.
when the curling business, yeah, is that some teams are better than others,
Mhm.
and uh, there's a reason for that. There really is a very subtle skill involved in it, and the only thing I can see that the only way I can see you getting any skill at curling is just to do it a lot.
Yeah, it's
It's
definitely
it's
I'm shut up and winter a great deal kind of sport that you master.
it's a lot of touch. It's
Mhm.
a lot of touch, and the sweeping is surprisingly uh, skill based. I mean,
Mhm.
you think that's just ignorant. That's not it at all. You're listening to the guy who throws the rock, and he's telling you to either sweep faster or sweep
Mhm.
slower. You're sweeping so hard you can't look down ice to see what what your rock's going to hit.
You're
So
relying on
you're
him.
just
Yeah.
you're exactly you're relying on his cues, and if he tells you to slack up or stand up, which means stop sweeping,
Mhm.
the rock is going too fast, which almost never happens, but you have to be aware of that. Anyway, I just think it's an
I
interesting
watched the
sport.
curling last winter Olympics, not this past, the last whenever the hell they were. And I found it fascinating. And I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed the US team because I got to understand what they were saying. Because
Yeah.
up to then, we hadn't really fielded a team that could medal. And then they come along and they really did look like the cast of Family Guy just showed up. Uh, and it looked like it was making some of the Scandinavians pissy because they were kicking the shit out of a lot of teams
Yeah.
who were not expecting those American schlubs to do as well as they did.
Did the Canadians win?
I thought we medaled. I thought we took the gold. We might not. I mean, it always comes down like it does with ice hockey. Kind of to, is this going to be the U.S. year or the Canadian year? Or it did when everything was amateur.
Since the 1998 Olympics, Canada has generally dominated the curling sport. Since Jenna here, uh, let's see, winning gold in 2006, 2010, 2014, silver in 1998, 2002, and bronze in 2022. The women's team similarly did well. Their mixed doubles win everything. So Canada, yeah, they're definitely
But they didn't win the gold in
the guys.
2022.
There are some years they have not won the gold.
Who?
That's for sure.
Canada in curling.
Mhm.
I love that sport.
It is fat. I found it thoroughly enjoyable to watch, and I had not expected
Isn't it?
to.
But it's also so relaxing.
It's a very soothing thing to watch. Yes.
I will get the kids to watch it with. I mean, it's a family event. It's such a stupid sport, but a great sport. Well, that's the only way I can describe it.
I'm not laughing at you, I promise.
One of the hardest things to do is to throw that rock accurately. It's just it just basically escapes me. I don't have any hand-eye coordination anyway.
We won the
But,
first Olympic gold in the Pyeongchang Olympics.
That was 2000.
2018. Yeah, Team Schuster on the men's side. We won gold, which nobody expected. Like I said, kind of looked. I mean, they did. It's not like they were ill-dressed or ill-behaved or anything, but it was like American schlubs out there doing, surprising everybody.
In 2000 in the Salt Lake City Olympics, the in 2002,
Mm-hmm.
My mother's husband Kent. Sorry, Kent, I just outed you. Drove the curling team around because they had volunteers driving everybody around to all the different sports venues, and I remember going, "What's curling?" But that's just
it was and it wasn't just because Team USA was winning; it was getting the most coverage it had ever gotten.
Yeah.
In 2018, so I just watched way more of it. It's like once in a while the Olympics are in a place where the timing of things. I remember the Athens Summer Games.
Mm-hmm.
They showed a lot of the sailing.
I love this.
And I was so gratified. Now, if it's in the wrong time zone, and also now the way NBC covers the Olympics, well, they fucked up their coverage. They're just horrible now. But now the way they cover it, you will never find it. It can be very difficult to find certain sports that used to get a lot better coverage.
Well, you know what one thing they do is they put it on every NBC channel they have. So it could be on NBC on the regular
or CNBC. They even,
or CNBC or
ESPN
or
NBC Sports and the Olympics channel.
I think at one point it was on Don't Mock the Oh, you sent me that. Although it looks like an Oreo with a handle. Or a moon pie with a handle.
It does look like a whoopie pie. Whoopie
like
cushion.
TNT was showing the Olympics. I was like, why is TNT showing the Olympics? They just did it on every channel they owned.
Yeah, it was, and they weren't showing a good variety. It just made me sad because you can't find the equestrian events anymore.
And
those are very hard to find. The sailing is very, very hard to find. And sometimes it can be difficult to track down the biathlon. And and none of the other shooting competitions.
Because it's triggering.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
It's also amazing. And one of the
I know
things,
there was no pun intended.
That's surprising because they are bi.
One of the things I did find amazing.
See what I did there?
I did.
I quit.
Sorry.
Fucking quit.
Let's talk about softball.
Jesus Christ.
So,
God, could you get your balls unstuck from your brain for a minute?
the equestrian stuff, that's hard stuff to do.
Now, dressage is boring as shit to watch.
What is?
The dressage?
Is that when
That's when they're doing the
It's
prancy little
horsey dancing is what it is.
When you
it's all that presentation bullshit that they do.
They do that on Yellowstone, the TV series.
I empathize. Creed took writing courses over at Fort Belvoir Stables near there.
Yeah.
Skep,
Yes.
there was a riding
My
ring.
sisters took
There was an
riding
equestrian ring right across from like basically the gates to Belvoir, and that's where he rode. And he did a little run on dressage for a while, and he was like, I suck at that. That's just no, it's horrible. And I find watching it tedious. I mean, yes, it's very masterful, but I'd much rather watch Steeplechase or the agility runs.
What's the one that Zara Phillips does?
Paint driving.
Zara Phillips used to do I thought she did at least 2 of the 3, if not all of them. Her mother was just a remarkable equestrian.
I think they both won in Olympics. Zara, I think, won in 2012.
Well, the British were so good at it.
Yeah, well, and her mother won in the 70s and they both won silver or bronze.
Yeah, something like I know they didn't gold medal, but they were both incredibly capable equestrians. As was her dad, wasn't he? It kind of runs in the family. But Anne was remarkable. She certainly could handle the animal she resembles the most.
That's not nice.
She does too look like a horse.
Anne looks like I have to now pull out a picture of Anne.
She does look like a horse.
I'm not saying she doesn't. I just want to. So one great thing about horse riding is it is a great.
It's good for building your legs up.
It's good for
Prince Charles
recovery.
Hmm? What did you say? I missed it, damn it.
He was just trying to figure out if he was...
I just wanted to see if anybody could figure that out.
Oh, I got it.
I didn't hear what you said.
I didn't hear it either because Jenna was talking.
She's turned into quite the old nag now, though.
Oh, God damn it.
All
right. So, do you know
anybody
that
can ride a horse, but it takes real courage to look like one.
Yes,
it takes even more courage to get
Are
back
we
on that
calling
one.
Anne now? I mean, Camilla now a horse?
I would never.
I said something about Prince Charles enjoying riding on horses.
Yes.
Riding horses. Riding a particular horse.
Yes, he does.
So I started thinking of Camilla Parker Bowles.
Yes, and that's what I was going for. Obviously.
All right, I can see what you mean with Anne.
Thank you. I told you she looked like a horse.
Oh, yes, that's been who made that observation famous?
Probably Joan Rivers.
I miss her.
Right.
Not that I knew her, but she was a great comedian.
And she was also a pretty sharp lady.
Yes. That's mean.
But Camilla has a bit of a look of the Winnie about her. Not quite as much as Anne.
Can I just say that
but she has that mouth, those teeth. That doesn't.
Diana wasn't a saint and wasn't even really a good person.
Diana, we know that, but she was a better person than her husband.
Well,
Charles was a jerk.
I don't think they were either good people.
What did Diana do that was so particularly shitty, other than possibly have a mental illness?
Well, and actually, that's fair. I do think she had a mental illness, which is out of her control.
She's also pathologically shy and was thrown into that kind of lifestyle.
They had 11 saw each other 11 times before they married.
Yep.
I think more responsibility. Oh my gosh.
Is that the
More
pantomime chorus
responsibility
version? Or?
needs to be thrown onto
Is that her hair or her hat? Dear God.
both.
Yeah,
that's
it's
Princess
both.
Anne, by the way.
She
Yeah.
got it off of the person that used to sell OxyClean. It was had a hair.
You know who she looks like? Her great grandmother,
That is still really funny.
Mary of Teck.
Oh.
She looks a fair bit like Queen Mary.
So Diana 100% had something wrong. I mean, she was bulimic. I think she was psychotic.
I don't
But
think she was psychotic. I think she probably suffered from depression.
from what?
Depression.
Yeah, but depression doesn't make you. Well,
Yes, depression can make you a lot of things.
But
Depending.
it can't make your teeth look like that.
no, it cannot.
I
But
wish
how
she's
do we know
not
Charles
depressed.
doesn't have? I mean,
I wish I were your tampon. Still keeps flashing back in my mind.
Oh my God.
That's
who
why
said that?
Charles did on a phone call to
Oh.
Camilla. You missed that. You
And
were
how
lucky.
is that not psychology? Not crazy.
It's dear God, Jenna. It's not. It's
That's
just
disgusting.
well. It's he wanted to be inside her. Okay.
I know what it means.
Well, that's because he was being naughty on the
Aw.
phone. He was being naughty on the
Well,
phone.
but why
with his
do we
little
know that? Why
girly
is that
girl.
our business?
Because somebody tapped. They didn't tap the line. They picked up a sat. He was probably using a sat phone or something.
So Donald Trump was right.
I like this sinister horse.
Yes. You know what that looks
horse
like? That looks
really
like the
did a
head
good
that
job on
that looks-
eyeshadow.
that looks like the secretariat that Chris
It is
Ferguson.
Secretariat.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I thought it was
Yeah.
with the blue
That's
eyeshadow.
Cannibal Wizard says, from what I've heard, she was a bit of a hoe.
What,
Which one?
Diana?
Who?
Yeah. It depends on who you're hearing it from.
I think Diana was a bit of a hoe.
Who? Oh, so okay.
I think all of them were a bit of a hoe.
I think she probably did in self-defense, to some extent. When on your honeymoon you find that your husband is keeping a picture of a woman on another woman on his nightstand, you might have an affair.
Why didn't his parents just let him marry who he wanted?
Oh, good God! This one's easy to explain. She was Catholic.
Oh, well, they're the head of the Church of England. You can't be Catholic.
You can't.
Why didn't she just convert?
'Cause
They
she
let
was-
Meghan Crazy Markle do it.
She was Catholic.
Yeah, they're not burning them at the stake anymore like they were
They-
back in the
they-
day.
And didn't it?
Made several
there-
terrible mistakes based on not letting someone in the royal family marry a Catholic. They've made a couple terrible mistakes that way. And it cost people dearly. I don't take very... I mean, I don't care for Charles. But to be told that you cannot marry someone that you love because of their religion at the time in the world that he was told that is incredibly stupid and frustrating. And it ruined a number of people's lives for a short period. He and Camilla have found their happy ending, but it did participate in ruining Diana's life. Diana could have found a perfectly nice fellow and married him.
Yes,
she was an attractive girl, and she could have had a happy life. But Charles and Camilla were in love. It wasn't going to happen. Camilla married, and then Charles eventually had to marry, and we ended up with a fucking shit show of a tabloid drama that involved the lives of two young boys, which just pissed me off, and it was so tawdry. It was tawdry, and it was so unlike the royal family that we'd come to know out of the Mountbatten clan. You know, and when you look at Queen Elizabeth and the life she's led, the exemplary life that she's led, and the exemplary life her mother led, and then you look at this bunch of loser children that she has, save
You're
Anne
not wrong.
and the
Not
faggot
wrong.
Edward. Pardon
Why
me.
is he a faggot?
Faggot. He's a double bassoon. That might get the show knocked off. I apologize.
You mean
I called him
he's
a
a bunch
bassoon.
of sticks
He's
that
a stick. He is a stick. He has the personality of a stick. And he washed out of the Royal Marines. Nobody in the royal family had ever voluntarily separated from their military duty until he did. And it's just one after another after another. Now you could say perhaps it's the parenting skills, but also in the indulgence that went into it. Living in a fishbowl doesn't help.
no, I couldn't imagine
The
living like
paparazzi
that.
in Great Britain is gross. They're disgusting.
Do you believe they're racist?
The paparazzi?
No, the royal family.
No, I do not believe they're racist. I think Meghan Markle's disappearing up her own ass moment by moment.
I think, see, I had somewhat of a, she doesn't really, she's getting clued in as she goes. And then she pulled that whole, she's a cunt.
Philip made a lot of unfortunate remarks. The idea that William would ever have said anything untoward, like it was suggested that he possibly could have said.
Both their kids are gingers.
Which means they have no soul, just like their mother.
That goes back a year or two.
Yeah, that goes back to Harry.
It does indeed.
Which goes back to maybe where he came from.
Yeah.
Although
At least he didn't come from Cuba.
He looks a good bit like his uncle. I think it's so funny that everybody is convinced that she had to have an affair to have the ginger. And it's like, well, you look at her
There's
brother.
ginger in her family.
Yeah.
Her brother, Harry, looks terrifically like her brother. And it's like, especially if you look at Diana and Charles's wedding when her brother was a little, younger. He just looks a shitload like him. There are gingers all over the royal family. They
Queen
pop up here and
Elizabeth,
there.
in her 3rd year photo, was ginger. Her hair turned to dark.
She was blondie ginger, yeah. And I'm sure on the Bose Lyons side, there would have been a ginger or two coming from Scotland.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
It's the highest incidence of redheaded people anywhere on Earth.
Scotland? I would have thought Ireland.
No, Scotland.
It does actually make sense because closely followed probably by Norway or somebody like that, because usually it tends to be the Danish blood that is tracking the ginger. It's Danish or Ashkenazi. Those are your two choices. Oh, God, Dame
Some better
Edna.
royalty. Dame Edna.
She was something else.
I love Dame Edna.
Mm-hmm.
There's this.
She always made me think of like the evil Barbara Cartland.
She did an interview with Katie Lang one time.
Oh, God.
And Katie Lang was at a point in her career where she just did not take herself too seriously.
Good.
And totally played along. And it's one of the most entertaining interviews. Just look, Dame Edna and Katie Lang. It's I don't know, 15, 20 minutes of fun. And it's just Katie Lang getting farther into it more and more, and them riffing off each other. It's really entertaining stuff.
Katie Lang only went through a small period of time when she was in danger of disappearing up her own butt.
insufferable, her insufferable period.
Yeah, and then when she loosened up, and
Yeah.
that was a good while ago. Her insufferable period. She
It
had
was before she got fat. And once she accepted her fatness, she seemed to mellow out quite a bit. I agree with you.
You know, everybody should look to Kathleen Turner as an example.
Kathleen can turn back time.
Kathleen Turner is a beautiful woman. And she damn near made herself quite ill making Body Heat because of how much she was starving herself to be that slender. Because she, not unlike Kirstie Alley, if you look at their build, they're tall, broad-shouldered, kind of big bone, corn-fed beef stock. You know,
Yeah.
Kirstie Alley comes from a Kansas farm stock.
Yeah.
You know, Kathleen Turner, similar kind of stock. And Kathleen Turner just pretty much said, fuck this. And when she did Serial Mom, she was as pretty as she was ever. She was just heavy. And the camera's so unkind to weight gain that it always makes people look larger. But Kirstie Alley,
like 10 pounds.
Kirstie Alley is still, I think, a very pretty girl. In the girl next door category of pretty.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, they're big, but they're not Mama Cass Elliot, okay? And they're certainly not wandering around doing a lot of screaming about fat acceptance. It was just Kathleen Turner was like, I could kill myself or I could eat some Haagen-Dazs. I'm eating the Haagen-Dazs, okay?
That's my approach.
You know, it's stupid. You have no idea what I was doing to myself to try to meet your sense of beauty. And also, do you know what happens to women as they age metabolically? Oh,
I'm learning the hard way.
You know,
you guys are pretty coy about it. You don't talk about it much.
Well, it's not a fat acceptance thing. It's more or less all of a sudden, God plays this practical joke on you where it's like, you want to eat a Frito? Here, gain 10 pounds.
Yeah, it's well, it is a cruel game because testosterone and estrogen basically crash.
Yes.
And that's quite the double whammy to get all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I feel like shit. All I want to do is eat ice cream. Oh, by the way, I can't digest this ice cream very well now.
Yeah. You can't digest it. You
or
don't
metabolize, excuse me.
Well, you also start having digested things too. Because it's like, haha, the things you love will now give you the Aztec tea stab. And it's like, seriously, why didn't you toss some diverticulitis in on top of the hot flashes in the 10-pound weight gain? Because I ate a chocolate chip cookie. And
so what I'm hearing, everybody, is that you're not recommending people get older.
I'm not recommending menopause, but I'm also not recommending hormone replacement therapy because that has its strong downsides.
Here, have some Premarin. You know,
here's the question.
No shit. A lot of people felt better and didn't gain weight, but they also had heart attacks.
Well, we are at a point of
Can I just ask my question?
Yes. Please go ahead.
This is a true question.
Okay.
Why would anyone after a certain age choose to become a woman? I don't think women would choose to become a woman.
Yeah, well.
So you're saying women aren't born?
Of course women are born.
No.
Then how can you choose?
Oh, no.
You just identify as one.
You know what I'm talking about. I don't want to say the word and get us in trouble.
I already said a word that's probably going to get us in trouble.
This stream is so toast.
Okay.
Well, Edward infuriates me, and then it slipped out, and there we go.
We'll be back in about 2 weeks, folks.
God damn it! I am sorry.
We're just teasing.
We will now be.
They won't get us for it. It'll be 4 years before they get us for it.
We will now be minions of the shut the fuck up.
Yep. And I was talking about a stick. He's a stick.
Yeah.
A bunch of sticks tied
Stick boy.
together
No, it's
that you light.
It's a single stick. It's fine. You can also say that is also a bassoon. But he's the shitty end of it, and we're at the shitty end of the show.
Yeah. Well,
See how I did that?
Yeah, and funny
Hey,
you should mention that because
Skep,
we are
we have
at the end of the
bots.
show. Hmm.
We have bots.
Oh, thanks. Fuck you.
That's my grandma.
No, Naked HD is not your grandma.
No, I was talking about the hippopotamus.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's mean.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Is that
No, that's
Clementine
mean.
Ford? Naked came the manatee.
See, now
That
that's
was
mean.
That wasn't a manatee.
It's a joke, Jenna. I'll explain it after the show. Ha 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 ha! I love the account you Donaldo Trumbull. It's one of my favorite accounts. It's perfect. Oh my god, that's so perfect.
That's a perfect ending screen.
It is.
I do want to thank chat for coming out and listening to us, and thank you to my panel for providing the entertainment and the commentary. I do have so much fun doing this, but we've had our 2 hours for this Tuesday night. We'll be back on, of course, every night, Minions, and Saturday and Tuesday when you can usually find me, Harry, and Prospero hanging together, and various of our friends like Jenna
Not
and
me. I'm not
other
invited.
folks. You're always invited. And so
I'm talking about Saturday.
You have to wake up.
Yeah.
I want to thank you guys for coming out and joining us this evening. But for tonight, the zoo is closed.